This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 2413. A reminder, you probably make a lot more than you think, by Kevin of FinancialPanther.com. And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. This is actually one of multiple shows in our network covering different topics like personal development, health, and relationships. So if you like narration-style podcasts, be sure to search for Optimal Living Daily wherever you're hearing this and check out our other shows. But for now, let's get right to it and continue optimizing your life. A reminder, you probably make a lot more than you think, by Kevin of FinancialPanther.com. If you're listening to this, chances are that you live in a developed country. You probably also make a decent income and have some education under your belt. If you're smart, you might even be able to save up enough money one day so that you never have to work again. Most people in the world aren't lucky enough to have the luxury of thinking about financial independence, let alone actually achieving it. This is why it's always struck me as a bit ridiculous when I see people with good jobs complaining that they don't make enough to get ahead. Sure, making more money is probably better than making less money, and some cities are definitely more expensive to live in than others. But I have a problem when people who make well above the median income tell me that they're barely getting by. The vast majority of people in the US don't make the huge sums of money we seem to think are necessary in order to live. If someone making above a median income says they can barely get by, then what's happening to the other 50% or more of the population? Are they all living a destitute life because they don't have the huge house, fancy car, and private school education that some people say they simply must have? In many ways, spending is a bit like water. It basically just fills up whatever vessel you have. As your income grows, it's easier to fill up that income with increased spending. It's why a doctor or lawyer can make an amazing income, yet somehow feel like they're just skating by. So this post is a reminder to everyone out there to count your blessings. You probably make more than you think. You just need to keep some perspective when it comes to your income. Household income distribution in the US. CNN Money has a great calculator that tells you where your income ranks in the US. You slide the income bar to the left or right, and it tells you where that annual household income ranks in the US based on percentile. For example, an annual household income of around $55,000 per year puts you squarely in the middle of the pack when it comes to income. 50% of American households make more, 50% make less. To some, a $55,000 per year income would be amazing. I know when I graduated from college back in 2009, anyone who found a job paying that much was really lucky. To others, a $55,000 household income doesn't even seem livable. There are people out there making twice as much that swear it isn't possible to live on less. The important thing, in my opinion, is to maintain some perspective. Just look at how well you're doing if you're making what some people would consider pretty pedestrian incomes. $55,000 puts you in the middle of the pack, but an income of $75,000 puts you right up there near the top third of incomes. This household is doing pretty darn well when you compare them to the general population. A household making $100,000 per year is doing even better. They'd be firmly in the top quarter of the US population when it comes to income. Pick 100 random people in the US and they'll be making more than 75 of them. It's important to keep some perspective when it comes to your income. A pretty normal salary means you're doing better than most of the population. And if you're doing that well, what's stopping you from getting ahead? You can probably live on less because others are living on less too. Doctors, lawyers, and other high-income professions have a pretty bad habit of comparing themselves to one another. With all that money being thrown around, they end up losing perspective. Rather than realizing how lucky they are to have the things they have, they get into an inevitable comparison game with other people in their profession. Some colleague has a huge house and a fancy car, so that means I need that stuff too. That's how you can end up making an amazing salary, yet feel like you have no money. So just take a step back, really look at what you make and how you're living. Most people don't live in a huge house or a luxury apartment. Most people don't have a fancy car. But even without this stuff, most regular people are probably doing okay. I don't make the biggest income in the world anymore, but I'm fortunate enough to make a good salary that puts me well above the median income. It'll only get higher once my wife finishes her residency and starts earning some income. But I still remember to keep my perspective when it comes to income. If the median household income is $55,000 per year, surely I should be able to live off of that amount. At a minimum, I probably don't need to live off more. If I do spend more, it's because I want to, not because I need to. Perspective is part of the reason I was able to pay off my student loans quickly. When I was making six figures, I didn't live as if I made six figures because I knew that most people didn't make that kind of money. If I just lived like a normal person, I could use all of that extra money to pay off my loans. So if you ever have trouble wondering how you can live on less, just remember one thing. There are probably a lot of people out there that make a lot less money than you do. If they can live on less money, you can probably live on less money too. Keep your income in perspective. Compare yourself to the right people. Be content with what you have. Then you'll probably realize you make a lot more than you think. You just listened to the post titled, "A Reminder, You Probably Make a Lot More Than You Think," by Kevin of FinancialPanther.com.
When you save on auto insurance for driving safe with USAA Safe Pilot, you'll feel like a big deal, even in a traffic jam. Save up to 30% with USAA Safe Pilot. Restrictions apply.
This article reminded me that part of maintaining a positive mindset about our finances is to not compare ourselves to others. We're all guilty of it, so I, for one, am grateful for the reminder. I recall a time where my monthly savings rate was 45% rather than my 60% goal, and I thought about the other people in the F.I.R.E community who were saving even more than that. I felt bad for a moment for not hitting my goal until I realized how ridiculous that is. 45% is a fantastic savings rate. It's way more than I ever thought was possible when I was 30 grand in debt. While others can provide great inspiration and give us ideas of what's possible with our money, personal finance is a very personal journey. And it's a lifelong journey that we can make way more enjoyable by celebrating every win, big or small. I think we also compare ourselves to others in the way we spend. And some of our urge to buy things is because we assume this spending will make us feel a certain way. So when you see people spending on things you think you want, you're seeing what it looks like on the outside and assuming it's making them happy. You can never know another person's inner life, and many people surrounded by luxury are deeply unhappy. I think the reason is because you can't buy lasting happiness. You can merely buy fleeting moments of pleasure. Many of us witness another person's fleeting moments of pleasure and interpret it as peace of mind. While you can't buy real lasting happiness, you can cultivate it through the way you spend your time and energy and the people you surround yourself with. And this is where money plays an important role. It can give you more autonomy over your time and energy. That should do it for today. Have a happy rest of your day, and I'll see you on the Wednesday show tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.